Penn State and, as President Biden would say, Minnesota take on each other this weekend. Joe, the Nittany Lions and the Gophers. How do you see this one playing out?
Look, Minnesota hasn't really beaten anyone of note. The USC game that they have is probably their best matchup. But to flip that narrative, this might be one of Penn State's harder matchups of the year. A 6-4 Minnesota team that has, I mean, dude, look at their schedule, who they've beaten. I mean, they're in the top 3 of the opponents that they've played against.
Yeah, it's fair.
I'm not saying they're the hardest. Outside of the Ohio State game, I mean, they're a better opponent than Wisconsin in my eyes. I think that they are a better opponent than USC because they beat USC. Minnesota is not going to be a team that you should completely look past, but it's also a team that you are more talented than and you should very easily beat. Minnesota has not stepped up to the plate in a lot of their bigger matchups this year, which is why they have the 4 losses that they've suffered so far in this year. Minnesota, to bring up, though, and to dive a little bit deeper, Max Brosmer has been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the Big Ten with his efficiency. 2,200 yards, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. Ariante Ursary just got a Senior Bowl invite, and he is going to be one of the highest drafted tackles in the upcoming class, could potentially be a late first rounder. So there is a big matchup to pay attention to this week between Abdul Carter and Ariante Ursary. Last part, Daniel Jackson is a legitimate threat to pay attention to in their receiving core. He is somebody who also could be a late first rounder, early second, third round pick because he is super explosive. He's a great route runner. He's got tremendous hands. Minnesota has athletes. It is one of the most underrated rosters in the Big Ten. I don't think that Penn State is going to be truly challenged, and I think that they will have an easy time winning this football game. But if this game's close and people are geeking out on Twitter saying, oh my God, wait, why is Minnesota within a touchdown right now and we're going into the fourth quarter? Why is this a 3-point game? There's a possibility if Penn State comes out flat because they have the playmakers to create.
Joe, I'm sorry. I could barely make it. Ain't going to be a 1-score game, my guy.
I'm not okay. That's not what I said. I said that if there is a random chance that this game is close because Penn State's playing like shit, this team, unlike many other Big Ten teams, actually has some pretty good athletes. That's all I'm trying to say here.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. They might have athletes, but they don't have hogs. And what do I mean by that? They cannot run the football. Bottom meaning Minnesota. Watching their game film today, because I hadn't got my eyes on them enough, Joe, their O-line, I get you're talking about the left tackle or whatever. The other 4 are bad.
Yeah.
They're very bad. They're 121st in the country in run offense, and the inability of wanting to run the ball is a problem. Not only do I not know if they can do it, they won't do it enough. And so when I look at Penn State, Joe, this is a bad matchup. If I'm Abdul Carter, if I'm those guys, and I know that I can pin my ears back and get after a quarterback, this is a bad matchup. It's a really, really bad matchup. I'm going to tell you the truth. Penn State better not come out playing around, and I get that. This is a style of fight that you better be able to win handily. I got to be real with you because you're going up against a team, Joe, that not only can't run the football, they can't get off the field on third down. They're one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, and yes, Purdue is still in the Big Ten. They're almost an equivalent on third down defense of Purdue. Let that sink in for just a moment, okay? They cannot get off the field. They're 107th in the country in third down. Penn State has been one of the more physical offensive lines. I know we look at Ohio State and say, well, Blake, they couldn't get a yard on 4th and goal. And you're right. I think that was a little bit more on play calling, but that's neither here nor there. Joe, they're running for 200 yards a game. And the God's honest truth is, regardless of what anybody wants to say, when it comes down to it, Penn State's been lining up and bullying dudes. That's the bottom. It's the bottom line. It's a bad matchup. There's a reason that Minnesota, I get that they're top 10 or they're technically 11th, but they're 11th in the country in total defense. I understand that. Blake, our defense has been really good. You offensively are one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. And that's what's going to – this is a bad matchup. So when I look at Minnesota and I look at that O-line play, Joe, defensively, I got to be real with you. I think they're pretty good defensively. A lot of things that Minnesota does is good defensively. The problem is when they get in third down situations, they don't have the dudes. Like, I think they're a really well-coached defense. I think they're a really fundamentally sound defense. But when it gets to 3rd and 5 and you got a dude running a slant and it's a one-on-one matchup and you can't stop it, that's been the problem for Minnesota, okay? That's going to continue to be the problem for Minnesota. You better call Gordon Bombay, baby, because you better start getting some athletes up in there because you don't have them right now. I do think for what it's worth, they don't have the dudes.
Jaw Joyner is another guy that's an NFL prospect, and Coy Parrish has been the best freshman defensive back in the country.
Do. Can I tell you what? It's this time of season. Can I tell you what you draft Rudy Poos to? Oh, they got this guy that might be drafted. They got that guy that might be.
Wait, hold on. You just said that they don't have the guys. They do have that. They have athletes.
No, I'm sorry, they don't.
You were just talking about it on defense. They don't have the athletes to get the subs. They do. Okay, you're saying the other.
Okay, I don't think they have the boundary corners. I don't
disagree with their corner play has not been good.
Okay, so you don't disagree. You're just trying to find a way to poo-poo on the tape. Joe, they don't have the dudes. That's the bottom line.
Outside of Daniel Jackson, they don't have the dudes.
Joe, even Daniel Jackson, they don't have the dudes.
No. Okay, now that's just wrong. Daniel Jackson is one of the best receivers.
He would not be a top 10 player on Penn State's team right now.
That's so bluntly wrong. That is incorrect.
Right.
He would be their number one receiver if he was on this team. They would kill to have Daniel Jackson.
Yeah, because Penn State's not a receiver. But you draft Rudy Poos, you come up in here, you fall in love with a guy from a no-name school, okay, and he goes out in the NFL and he shits himself.
He's got 712. Oh, I'm telling you right now, I've had some wrong takes on the show when it comes to prospects way early on, a couple of guys. But I'm telling you right now, Daniel Jackson is going to be a name to know in NFL circles. He's got 700 yards in the season. You're acting like he hasn't done anything.
In NFL circles.
He would be the number one receiver on Penn State right now.
If I'm not mistaken, he's like the number 2 targeted player in the Big Ten. He better be getting yards.
Dude, I don't disagree with most of what you've said here. Penn State is obviously more gifted, but to say Daniel Jackson wouldn't be the starting number 1 receiver for Penn State right now, I didn't say that. You just said that he wouldn't be
he wouldn't be. He wouldn't. Of all the players on Penn State, he wouldn't be in their top 10 of all their players.
I don't agree with that.
No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. I got 2 running backs. I got a quarterback. I got a tight end. I got 2 offensive linemen. I got a dual quarter. I got a corner. I got a safety. You know that what I'm saying is right.
No, I don't know what you're saying is right. I completely disagree. He's going to be a top 10 receiver in this upcoming class.
Hey, I'm going to end it with this. You ready? Remember when you draft Rudy Poos, tried to tell me about a kid named Porter who was at corner who wouldn't be the best corner in the draft, and he is?
Who are you talking about?
Oh, just you draft Rudy Poos. Y'all thought
I have no idea. I don't even know who the heck you're talking about.
Joe, who's the Pittsburgh Steelers' first-round pick or the second-round pick?
Joey Porter Jr.? Yeah, but who said that he wasn't?
I said he was the number 1 quarter coming out in his draft class, and y'all say no. I don't.
Well, he wasn't. I think that there were. Didn't you? Wasn't that? Wait, that was the same draft class that you said Emmanuel Forbes was the number 1 corner in that class.
No, I said he was behind. Emmanuel Forbes was second.
Okay, a little revisionist history there.
I'm just being honest. Penn State, you know what's going to happen in the Big Ten this week? Can I tell you what's going to happen?
Penn State's going to obviously beat them. I'm just trying to paint the picture here
Penn State are going to roll, and people who've been defending, like Danny Cannell, who've been defending the Big Ten, you're going to get dog shit on your face.
I don't agree with that.
Or as the Minnesotans would say, I looked this up because I wanted to say this take because I heard it from Betty White. Hoopenglocken. Hoopenglocken is the white thing that turns dog poop white. All right. Anyway, let's get to another one here.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number 1 source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.